Hi, and welcome to Fletcher's Fantasy Factor. I'm Fletcher, and these are my associates, Diesel, Drake, and Brandon, the newcomer. Let's just first start off by beginning the show by saying that I did the best in last week's pick-em by only losing one game. I beat everybody else. No big, just doing my thing. So to start the show, we've got some topics to discuss, and then we're going to dive into our Eat, Sleep, and Bust segment. These topics have been brought to us by our producer, LCC Tones. In the Eat, Sleep, and Bust segment have been brought to us by Call Pat. All right, Dees, let's dig into them topics, brother.
All right. First question, is Andrew Luck elite?
Who wants this one first, man?
Absolutely. I think that, just you can't take a small sample size with, first 3 games. He does have new weapons. He's just getting adjusted. Andre Johnson, you can tell that he's having a tough time finding himself in the offense. But once he gets that rapport built up with guys like Moncrief, he did well last year, but it was just streaky. But I think that once he gets settled in, I think this is the week he can do it. He can get it turned around, and he's going to take advantage of the Jacksonville team, and we'll forget about it. Last year, look at Tom Brady, how bad he did in the first few games, and everybody wrote him off. I think Luck's going to be the same story.
I think Luck's elite too. Some guys just take a while to hit their stride. I think he already has when he played the championship game last year. But a couple years ago, Manning had arguably his best season. Brady's playing well at an old age. I think Luck throws a lot of picks, but Brett Favre threw a lot of picks too. Can't judge him on that. I think Andrew Luck is elite.
I think he will be elite. I think he's been, crowned earlier or whatever. Talk about a large sample size. Last year he was second in the league in total turnovers, only behind Jay Cutler. His weapons, once he gets more familiar with his weapons, I think things will turn around for him. But I think he will be, but right now I think it's a little early.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the favorable pick by saying he is elite. Obviously, hasn't shown it this year. But like Diesel said, Brett Favre threw a lot of picks. He throws a lot of picks. Turnovers isn't the whole story. I do think he'll find it this week, and get back to the regular form we're used to seeing him at.
All right, let's dive into this second topic we got here. Is it time for fantasy owners to trade Marshawn, Lynch, and C.J. Anderson? I'll start this one. I think it's early to trade Marshawn Lynch, but I think it's definitely time to trade C.J. Anderson. That's all I've got to say.
I'll agree with Fletcher. I think Lynch is a good guy to hold on to. As the games get more meaningful, the more you're going to have to run the ball and play defense. I think Lynch will be valuable then, but I don't really trust C.J. Anderson very much. I don't have any problem with trading him.
All right. Well, C.J. Anderson, I don't think you're going to get much for if your fellow colleagues know what they're doing, but definitely trade him. Marshawn Lynch, the only reason you would trade that is if you just get the #1 bag flat down. He's going to be a top 10 running back till the end of the season. Definitely keep a hold of him. Too early for the trade.
I wouldn't look to deal either of them because right now their value is not very high. But both these guys will get it turned around. You look at the guy. You look at C.J. Anderson. He's been playing 3 of the best defenses as far as the run game goes over the past few weeks. He played Kansas City, played Ravens. Nobody's been able to run the ball against the Ravens for the past couple of years. And last week he played the Lions. I know that they lost Sue, but they also got Haloti Ngata. I wouldn't trade him. Value's not high enough right now. I'd hold on to him and see where you're at in a few weeks.
Go to the next one. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, are they still elite without Ben Roethlisberger? I'll dive into this since I'm a Steelers fan.
All right.
I think Bell is absolutely elite. I honestly think they're both the best at their positions. And I'm not expecting big numbers from Vic this week because it took Roethlisberger over a season to learn Todd Haley's offense. And a lot of it's based on accuracy, and that's not really Vic's forte, but I think they'll find creative ways to get everybody involved. I don't think anybody can guard Antonio Brown at this point, and I'm pretty confident Le'Veon Bell is the best all-around back in the NFL, so I think they're both definitely elite.
I'll take this one next. I think they're both elite. I don't know much about running backs, but I know Le'Veon Bell's good. I know a whole lot about receivers, and I know Antonio Brown's the best right now. Calvin Johnson being on the downside and Des Bryant being hurt. Yeah, they're both still elite. Pretty simple.
I would have to say that as far as the fantasy value, you're going to get your most value out of Brown. They're both absolutely elite. There's no question about that. They're both really good. Top 3 in their position, no argument about it. But I think that, with Michael Vick stepping in this week, he's going to probably take advantage of a pretty poor pass defense with the Ravens. Bell, in my opinion, he will actually see more production with Ben Roethlisberger out. But as far as this week here, you're going to get a lot of production still out of Antonio Brown. But as far as the next 5-6 weeks go, Brown's production is going to slide and Bell will increase.
All right, yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. They're both elite. Le'Veon Bell's going to get an increased workload. Obviously, not going to throw the ball as much with Michael Vick. Antonio Brown's so versatile. There's so many ways to get involved with the offense. I mean, you can throw bubble screens, and Vick can, he can complete bubble screens. Definitely worth a start in your fantasy lineups, and we'll definitely show it on the field.
Another worthy pick is Martavis Bryant coming back next week. Vic really likes to scramble and hit guys deep down the middle, and he had a lot of success with Martavis Bryant in the preseason. Someone to watch for.
All right, that takes us into our Eat, Sleep, and Bust segment. Diesel, why don't you take us away with that and see where we go?
All right, we're going to start off with the Ravens at the Steelers. Drake, take it away.
I think with an eat here, I think Antonio Brown is a good option. I think that they're going to stack the box real hard, come at Vic. And whenever you come at the quarterback like that, you're going to end up ultimately being able to shut down a little bit of a run game. And Antonio Brown, you get the ball out to him in space.
He's the best.
He's the best. Ball in space, he's the best. And then also my sleeper, I think, it's hard to say a sleeper, but whenever a guy's nearing 40, he's a sleeper any day of the week. I think Steve Smith, he always tears apart the Steelers. He's going to have a big game. But my bust, it's a little crazy. I don't think that he'll rush for under 50 yards or anything like that. But I think that you're not going to see the production out of Le'Veon Bell. I think that the Big Ben going down does hurt them a whole lot, and the Ravens are going to be able to they're going to be able to stack the box on them, come at them, and Bell's production will take a hit. I think that he's going to be my bust this week.
All right, that takes us to the Jets at Miami, and that'll actually be me. And to eat, I really like Brandon Marshall. I mean, he ate last week. He's been an elite receiver almost his whole career. I've got a lot of faith in him to eat this week.
He did 2 weeks ago, too, against the Colts.
He's been nice.
Just gotta like that size, and you just know he's better.
And he's crazy, too.
And he's mentally unstable.
And to sleep, I like Bilal Powell because Ivory's been a little banged up, and I like the Jets to run the ball pretty well this week. As a bust, people have been high on Rashard Matthews. He's thrown a couple good weeks together, but I don't see another one coming. I think he'll be on the outside. I think Revis will be on him for a good portion of the game. I don't see Rashard Matthews doing well at all. And that takes us to the Jaguars at the Colts.
I got T.Y. Hilton eating this week. I think Andrew Luck will get his puppies in order a little bit. I think T.Y. will catch some passes, get a touchdown, get a few yards here and there, whatever. For my sleep, I got the Jaguars running back Yeldon. I don't see Blake Bortles doing a whole lot, so if they're going to get something going, it's going to be him. And then for my bust, sad to say it, but I got Andrew Luck. Nothing this season's made me think otherwise. If anyone's going to bust, it's going to be Luck. I mean, he busted last week against the Titans. He could easily do it again.
And then next is the Giants at the Bills.
All right, for the eat, I got Carlos Williams. LaShawn McCoy's a little banged up. Doesn't look like he's really going to play. I do believe the Bills will win. Pound that ball at the end, so he could have a big game like he did last week. A sleeper, Percy Harvin is what I'm thinking. Old Sammy Watkins is probably out. Look for him to get some big plays down the field. My bust is Ruben Randall. Victor Cruz is probably going to be back. He's only had one big game, very few targets. I do not see him repeating what he did last week.
Carolina at Tampa.
I think for my E, it's going to be Cam Newton. I mean, you look at what a mobile quarterback did against him week 1. Mariota picked him apart. Newton's going to do the same. Sleeper, Ted Ginn Jr., I think he's going to be able to find some open field. Maybe get a touchdown. You get a touchdown out of him, that would be pretty nice. And my bust, he's kind of been a bust all year. I don't think he's going to get much going. I would say Doug Martin or actually any running back coming out of the backfield for Tampa Bay this week.
All right, then that takes me to the Eagles at Washington. Washington brings in the third-ranked rushing defense in the NFL, and I use that same reasoning for all 3 picks. For the eat, I've got Jordan Matthews. I think he'll see a lot of touches. They're not going to be able to run the ball. And as a sleep, I like Ertz. I think, for the same reasons, I think they're not going to run the ball very well. I think Ertz is going to get a lot of catches, maybe even a touchdown. And as a bust, just any running back for the Eagles. And that takes us to the Raiders at the Bears.
All right, so if you watched the show last week, which you should have, but you probably didn't because it was our first show, you know I'm big on Derek Carr. I got Derek Carr hitting against the Bears. Bears defense pretty horrible, pretty easy to see. I mean, look at his last couple of weeks. Derek Carr's going to eat. For my sleeper, I've got Latavius Murray. I think their running game will get going against the Bears like the rest of their offensive game. And then for the bust, I just have the whole Bears team in general. I mean, Cutler goes down, their defense sucks. What's to like about them?
Next up is the Texans at the Falcons.
All right, for the eat, pretty easy for me. Julio Jones, he's just been a monster all season. I think he'll continue that. Sleeper, possibly Alfred Blue if Arian Foster remains out. Arian Foster could take some carries away, but I'd check those that health status on Arian Foster. And then for bust, I'd say Devontae Freeman. I just don't see him repeating what he did last week. Plain and simple.
And the Chiefs at the Bengals.
I think that the E would be A.J. Green. It's pretty surprising that the Chiefs' pass defense hasn't been there all year. Looking pretty poor so far, so I see A.J. Green having a pretty good week. I think a good sleeper here would probably be Andy Dalton, just because the Chiefs' pass defense hasn't been that good. And he's coming off of a big week, so I think you could also get some value out of him there. And bust, same thing as whenever I was talking about Le'Veon Bell earlier. I mean, he's not going to, you're not going to completely bottle him up, but you're definitely not going to get the production that you're used to out of this guy. And that Bengals defense has been pretty stout so far, so I'm going to go ahead and say that Jamal Charles for a bust.
And that brings me to the Browns at the Chargers. This week to eat, I like Melvin Gordon. I think the Chargers will be up for the majority of the game, if not all of the game. And I think he'll get quite a few touches. And as a sleeper, I think Ladarius Green will play pretty well. It's the last week until Antonio Gates is back. I think he's got something to prove, and I think he will. And as the bust, I think Travis Benjamin, I don't think he'll have much success this week. And that brings us to the Packers at the 49ers.
Eating this week, I got Aaron Rodgers eating. This dude eats all the time, doesn't matter. Well, except for the NFC Championship last year against Seattle. He didn't eat then, but most of the time he eats, okay? For my sleeper, I got the Packers defense. They didn't impress anybody I know against the Chiefs, but they'll come up. Trust me, they'll come up big. And my bust, mainly because I don't like him, is Eddie Lacy. You look at him what he was in Alabama. He was a lean, mean machine. He gets to Green Bay. He's gotten fat.
Not much lead about him.
No, actually not. I just don't like Eddie Lacy. He's my bust.
And that takes us to the Rams at the Cardinals.
All right, for the eat, I'm liking the Cardinals' defense against the Rams. I just think they'll come up with a couple of turnovers there. For my sleeper, I'm thinking Kenny Britt. I do believe the Cardinals will be ahead, so that'll force the Rams' hand into throwing a little bit. And not a lot of receivers have shown that they can be the man in St. Louis. So Kenny Britt with 102 yards last game, he could still have a good game for you this week. And then my bust is Chris Johnson. 20 carries last week, 20 carries the week before. You're thinking you got something if you picked him off the waiver wires, but Andre Ellington's probably coming back. That's muddying the waters for Chris Johnson.
And that takes us to the Vikings at the Broncos.
I think right here you got a good defensive opportunity to eat with the Broncos. I don't think the Vikings will be able to get much going. I really think that the Broncos are going to just dominate this game. With my sleeper being C.J. Anderson, been bottled up the first three games, and he's looking. I mean, look what Carlos Hyde did week 1. I think that C.J. Anderson could be set up for a great week here. And My bust, I really think AP. I think the game flow will really dictate his touches, and I don't really see him getting much going on the ground there.
Especially if the Broncos dominate that time of possession.
Yeah, I think this. I think
passing then. I mean,
this is where you're going to look at the Broncos being, the offensive team that you had last year.
And that brings me to Dallas at New Orleans. To eat this week, I really like Witten. Jason Witten. He's proven to be one of Whedon's favorite targets. That's not really a phrase that makes you feel comfortable as a Whedon likes to throw to him. And as a sleeper, I've got Brandon Cooks from New Orleans. I think that Cooks is a very talented receiver, and I think Brees is going to find him a lot this week. And as the bust, I like Randall this week. He had a big week last week, but without those touchdowns, fantasy value wasn't that great. And they kind of limited his touches after he had those touchdowns too, so I don't see him having that great of a week. And that takes us to the Lions at Seahawks.
Well, who I got eaten this week? Clearly the Seahawks D. Lions. I'm a Lions fan. Hey, we've kind of sucked all year so far. I mean, talking about being Owen Wilson, man, we're 0-3 right now. Seahawks D's going to eat us alive. Week 1, I watched the Seahawks play with the Rams, and some guy named Tyler Lockett. He played pretty well against the Rams. He plays pretty well against the Bears last week. Both those teams are pretty bad. Our team is very bad, so I'm just inclined to think that he'll do good again. So he's my sleeper. And my bust is Lynch. Lynch hasn't shown out so far this year, so we might be able to keep him in check. I don't know, but I think he'll be a bust. And that'll actually take us right into my Dirty Dozen. Hi, I'm Fletcher. Welcome to Fletch's Dirty Dozen of the Week. What this is fantasy implications, long-term or short-term, for 6 underrated fantasy players and 6 overrated fantasy players. And what we're going to do, we're going to start with the 6 underrated fantasy players of the week. At number 6, we got John Brown. Past 2 weeks, John Brown's had 2 pedestrian weeks, but don't let that fool you. It was just a fluke he didn't do good last week. I mean, heck, the whole team did good last week. Give him time, and trust me, it'll pan out. Look long-term with John Brown, okay? Don't look for immediate results. At number 5, we got Travis Benjamin. Benjamin, he's a big play guy, okay? You're looking for a big play guy? Because that's him, okay? He's been killing every week, but you're thinking a big play guy from the Browns. That's a little volatile. I'm aware of that, okay? So make him your flex. It's easy. Problem solved. TD or bust kind of dude. If you're willing to put that at your flex, you're fine. And if you drafted smart, you can take a risk like this and put up 150 points in 1 week. At number 4, I got the Packers D. Packers D is underrated. They've been getting turnovers throughout the season. Their division's weak. Don't let the Vikings fool you. Please don't, okay? You're thinking the Vikings are good right now, but they're not, okay? Packers D is for real. Roll with him. Don't let last week against the Chiefs scare you, okay? They had a turnover. They sacked Alex Smith how many times? Like 7 times, 6 times? Just don't worry. The scoring, not going to happen every week like that against them. Another Packer, though, who I got at number 3 is James Jones. He probably went undrafted in a lot of leagues, but he's now a pretty big-time player. He's become a major target for Rodgers. And I know that a lot of people aren't looked at him still because he's only $6,000 on FanDuel. That's pretty relevant. That's pretty cheap for what he's going to give you, okay? At number 2, we still got Tyrod Taylor. He showed out pretty big last week against the Dolphins. Had 24 fantasy points. I take that from my quarterback every week. Heck, I'd probably take 16 from my quarterback every week unless I had Big Ben, which he's hurt. He's good. That's all I got to say. That's why he's at number 2 still. At number 1, we got Derek Carr. Derek Carr is still the man with a plan. He's had over 600 yards, 5 TDs, and only 1 interception in the past 2 weeks. I don't have to say any more than that. I mean, he's pretty good. Now we're going to start with my loser 6, the overrated fantasy players. At number 6, we got Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's pretty overrated for when you look at where people took him in their drafts. I mean, even last year, he was second in the league in total turnovers behind Jay Cutler, and we know how bad Jay Cutler sucks. If you follow NFL trash talkers on Instagram, he's their profile picture, so he sucks. He's got more picks than TDs, 2 fumbles, and a QBR of only 65.1 so far this year. That's not good. At number 5, we still have Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris is currently busting at the seams. He's not showing any signs of improving. Teams stack the box because they know the pass game sucks. Pretty easy to figure out if I can figure it out. At number 4, we got Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams still sucks as of past 2 weeks. Caught 0 balls last week against the Falcons. He's not big, he's not fast, he's not athletic, and he still has no Tony Romo throwing to him. Pass on him, trust me. Don't waste any time with it. At number 3, we have C.J. Anderson. C.J. Anderson is in danger of losing his spot. He was taken first in a lot of rounds this year and has underperformed mightily. Many thought he would thrive under Kubiak's offense, but simply hasn't. At number 2, we got DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray didn't play last week, so people might be thinking, he didn't play, how could he still be up there? Well, he didn't play, so he's done nothing to get out of the doghouse. He's still number 2. At number 1, we got Sam Bradford. He had a pretty terrible week again, only 50% completion percentage. He had 116 yards and only 1 TD. That sucks, and so does he. And that's going to take us back over to Diesel with Diesel's Dimes of the Week.
Back again for week 4, bringing you Diesel's Dimes. Last week, my 5 quarterbacks went as follows: Brady, Rodgers, Luck, Big Ben, and Matt Ryan. Brady dominated, led his team to 51 points. Rodgers threw for 5 touchdowns. Andrew Luck pulled out a win in Tennessee. Big Ben, he was throwing very well. He was picking apart the Rams D until that awful injury that you all saw. And then Matt Ryan also threw well, throwing to Julio Jones. This week, I'm going to start off with Aaron Rodgers at number 1. For obvious reasons. He's playing San Francisco this week, who has looked terrible all year. They really have. And Rodgers has thrown 10 touchdowns and 0 picks. Second, I'm going to go with Andrew Luck. He's playing the Jacksonville team that Brady torched last week. And at third, I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor. He's playing the Giants. He's really surprised me this week. Last week, he threw for 277 and 3 touchdowns. And that's not to say he couldn't run one in too. That's why I have him at 3. I've got Matt Ryan at number 4. The Falcons and Matt Ryan have really impressed me. He's throwing to Julio Jones, who is definitely one of the top 3 receivers in the game. I don't know if anyone can guard him at this point. Lastly, at number 5, I'm going to go with Peyton Manning. He might be walking out there with crutches. I actually heard he can't even tie his own shoes some days anymore. But he's playing Minnesota. He kind of found his stride last week. He threw for 324 and 2 touchdowns. Minnesota has played San Francisco, Detroit, and San Diego. I don't see a good quarterback in any of those teams. Some people might say Phillip Rivers, but I can't really buy into that one. Take us to the hot waiver pickups this week with Hot Off the Rocket Wire.
Hello, my name is Rocket, and we're going to be talking about the hot waiver pickups of this week. And this is Hot Off the Rocket Wire. And first we're going to go up to Rashard Matthews. Matthews only owned in 16.1% of leagues. Early in the year, he was buried in the depth chart behind Stills, Jennings, obviously Landry. Against a good Bills defense, he scored 23 points last week. I like him a lot. Obviously, he's going to have a little bit of problems with Revis, but in the future, definitely a good pickup. And next, we're going to a guy who we're huge here on Fletch's Fantasy Factory, and that is Derek Carr. Quite frankly, I wasn't completely sold on the man beginning of the season, but now I am a believer. This guy is a cannon for an arm and can light up the stat sheet. Going up against a very pedestrian Bears defense, I'm looking for him to light him up, especially the first half. He's had 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, averaging 330 yards over the last 2 games. Definite pickup, especially if you guys had Roethlisberger or Breeze. Now, we're going to a guy that I am really high on, that's Carlos Williams. He's on 23.6% of leagues. He's a workhorse of this tough Bills team. He continues to get red zone looks and converting them for big TDs. LaShawn McCoy is a little bit banged up. I see Carlos Williams' stock raising with more touches and more touchdown opportunities. Now we're going with a very big risk in Thomas Rawls. Now, at best, this guy's a patch start, let's be honest. I mean, 1 week. But Marshawn Lynch might not play this week, so definitely check the health status on Lynch. Last week he had 16 carries, 104 yards. I mean, he's going to repeat that this week if Lynch is hurt. But if Lynch is good to go, Rawls will get about 5 carries, so don't be starting him in that case. Now we're going to go to the people that I think you should avoid. So you might be wondering yourself, is this a CJ2K of old? And don't be thinking that too hardly. Chris Johnson had a couple good games, and that was great if you picked him up. 220 carry games, ton of yards, good Cardinals team. But quite frankly, with Ellington coming back, it'll be a three-back committee approach. I just don't see him getting the touches that he needs to make a big fantasy impact, so I would avoid him if at all possible. And last, we got Ruben Randall. I mean, he had a little bit of hype going in the beginning of the season just because of Victor Cruz's injury, but I mean, he had almost no targets the first 2 weeks. A decent game this past week, but they started working out. Hakeem Nicks, Wes Welker, Victor Cruz is coming back. He's coming for blood. Ruben Randall is pretty much worthless. And that is hot off the rocket wire. Now we're going to send it over to Drake for his FanDuel picks of the week.
Hi, I'm Drake, and this is my FanDuel picks of the week. And if you paid attention last week, you probably won some money. Last week we actually performed very well. I projected, 167 points out of the team. We ended up getting 183. If you look, that's in the top 97 percentile of picks in the league, out of FanDuel. So I guess that's pretty good, We did a very good job last week. But on to this week. We're not going to live in the past on this one. We're going to start off with a quarterback choice. Hopefully he performs a little better than what Foles did last week, and I would almost guarantee that he is. Tyrod Taylor, $7,600, and he's playing the Giants. I think that this is a very favorable matchup to him. I'm projecting 250 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, probably right around 50 rushing yards, and a rushing score. Expect big numbers this week. I'm going to expect him to probably score around 27 to 30 fantasy points. Latavius Murray. Very good week last week. 7,500 for this guy, and he's playing the Bears. He's probably going to have a really, really good game. I'm looking at 20 touches, 130 yards, a touchdown, and probably about 4 catches for about 40 yards. That's going to put him right around 22 points. Anything over 20, we'll be happy with that. A good pickup this week. I know a guy who's been pretty quiet so far, Melvin Gordon. He's, game flow really hasn't went his way. So I really like to pick my running backs based off the game flow, and I think this is going to go straight into his favor. I think that the Chargers could get up in this game early, and I think that they'll be able to ride it out against a Cleveland defense that's been very unstable this year. He's $6,800, and I think he's going to have 20 rushes, 100 yards, and a score. You're not going to see much out of the passing game with him. That's going to be more Danny Woodhead. But once they get that lead, he's going to just tote the rock over and over and over. And I really like him this week. I think he's going to have around 17 points. Next up, obviously, top of the list every single week in receivers, Julio Jones. I don't care what his value is, unless it's half my roster, I'm picking him up. He's 9,400 this week. He's actually increased. I didn't think anybody would be able to go up from what he was last week. But he's playing Houston defense. Houston's pretty good, that you got a good pass rush. They're going to have to get the ball out there quick. But, Julio's going to be able to catch those slants, be able to get upfield, and then possibly be able to burn him deep for one. I'm getting 10 catches off him, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's about 27 fantasy points, I think, and this is definitely possible out of him. My biggest sleeper this week, Percy Harvin, $5,700. I really like him, especially if Shady McCoy's out, because he's playing the Giants, and I think that he sees a carry a game, maybe 2. I think he might be able to get up in those carries a little more, and I'm expecting a rush touchdown out of him. Something odd that I picked last week was a kick return by Tyler Lockett, which we got right. I think a Percy Harvin rush touchdown is in the books this week. And I think he's still going to be involved in the passing game, 6 catches, 60 yards. But, he's going to have a score. I'm expecting around 17 points out of this guy. Another receiver, Keenan Allen. He's on pace for 155 receptions this year. That's pretty good. I think he's going to stay involved. Like I said, I think Melvin Gordon's going to be there for the late chunk of the time. But Keenan Allen, they got to get up. They got to get up early, and that Cleveland defense has been pretty sketchy. I don't like them at all, and I really think that Keenan Allen's probably going to see 10 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Don't expect much more than that. I think that's his ceiling, and we're looking right around 20 points, maybe a little more. A big one this week at tight end, Jason Witten, 6,000. Very good play. Whedon loves him. I think he's playing a New Orleans defense that led up 135 yards and 2 touchdowns last week to Greg Olsen. I think he's gonna, do well. He's gonna see a lot of targets. I think realistically speaking, I think we're gonna see 8 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Hopefully, he can find the red zone target because that's very important to him. I think we can get around 20 out of this guy. Robbie Gould, kicker, 4,600. He's playing Oakland. Oakland, I know it's an odd stat, but they've led up the 29th most points they've led up the 3rd most points, or 4th most points to kickers this year. And I think that's going to continue. I think that they have a pretty decent red zone D, so, the Bears are definitely going to have to settle. And I think he'll probably have 3 or 4 field goals, get you 12 points, that's solid. Anything over 8 with a kicker is pretty good. But the defense this week, you might not see it coming, but I'm going to go with Green Bay Packers, $4,700. Playing San Francisco. I don't think Kaepernick's going to get it figured out this week. I don't think he's probably going to get it figured out all year. They got a new offense in there, and I really don't think it fits him very well. I think they're going to have a pick or 2, and Green Bay's really good at taking advantage of their turnovers. So, they might get a scoop and score, might get a pick 6. I like them to find the end zone this week. And Kaepernick run around there. I think that they'll probably pick up a few sacks. I'm looking at 12 to 15 points out of this. Overall, I think I didn't really add this up, so you can go back through and check my math on it. But we're going to look at a lot of points. I think we're probably going to outscore what we did last week. So play this lineup. Hopefully it works out for you. And this was my fantasy lineup. Good luck.
Hi. Welcome back to Fletch's Fantasy Factory. I know what you're thinking. 3 dudes? I thought you had 4. That's good. You've been watching the whole show because we have. Diesel had stuff to do because he's an adult and he's gone doing his stuff. But let's get to the first thing. One of our viewers from last week has a question, and it's in regards to FanDuel. At Tyson Boney asked, who starts Nick Foles in FanDuel? Drake, I think this is a question you're well equipped to answer. Let's go to you.
Well, Tyso, can't argue with the results, man. I know Nick Foles didn't do well, but look at the rest of the lineup. I think that, that lineup served you right. Just play this one again. I promise we'll get more production out of the quarterback.
All right. Drake, I hate to take it from you again, but we're going to send it right back to you. What's your guaranteed parlay for the week you're feeling right now?
Guaranteed parlay.
We're talking 3-team parlay here, right?
Yep, I think that the best 3-team parlay here the opening lines, I like the Colts at 8.5. I think there's an offensive explosion there. I'm taking the Broncos at 4.5. I think, same reason, offensive explosion. And I'm really liking the Falcons at 5.5. That's really good. That team can really put up numbers, and I don't necessarily like Mallet back there at quarterback with that pass rush.
All right, that sounds good. Let's get to our pick'ems of the week. Drake, we're going to start with you. Ravens at Steelers. Who you got?
With Big Ben out, I'm going to have to go with the Ravens. I've been big on the Steelers all year, but Big Ben's not there.
I think Joe Flacco's still overrated, and I don't trust their play call. With Mark Trestman, I'm still going with the Steelers.
I'm going with the Steelers as well. I just think that they got too much firepower, and I just really don't like the Ravens at this point. And I think Diesel wrote in his answer.
Yeah, Diesel here is taking the Steelers in this one. Our next game, we're going to get to the Jets and Miami Dolphins. Drake, who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Miami. I think that they right the ship and really get things going. Might be a nice little thing, playing over in London. Really get shake things up a little bit because you really can't do much more wrong. But yeah, I like Miami this week.
Well, I'm taking the Jets, and I think the reason is pretty obvious. Darrelle Revis did good in New England. I think he's going to do pretty well in Old England too. So I'm rolling with the Jets on this one.
I like that. I'm going with Miami. I think they'll ride the ship as well. That's about all I got for that one.
Diesel's pick is actually Miami. He's taking the Dolphins in this one against the Jets. Our next game leads us to the Jaguars at the Colts. Drake, who you got in this one?
Colts. Part of my guaranteed parlay. Luck rights the ship here.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've not been big on Luck so far this year, but I'm going to go Andrew Luck and company on this one. I think the Colts take this one. Jaguars pretty terrible.
I'm going to agree with these guys. I think with how good Andrew Luck is with the Colts, they got to eventually turn it around. I think this is the week they do it.
And Diesel, this one's also taking the Colts as well. Giants at the Bills. Who you got, Drake?
I'm going with the Giants here. I really like what they're doing over there. They played 3 solid games, with the exception of the final 2 minutes. I think they're gonna beat the Bills this week, especially if Shady McCoy's out.
I'm rolling with the Bills. Giants, I don't really know what they're doing, but I know what the Bills are doing, and that's doing a lot of good things. Shady McCoy, I don't know what's the deal with him, but Tyrod Taylor, we all know what he's doing this year, and I think he's going to continue to get that going. Bills D's good. I got the Bills.
I'm going with the Bills. Rex Ryan has that team looking good, and I think they're going to continue to roll.
And Diesel, this one also has the Bills as well. Let's hop ship to our next game. Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got, Drake?
Carolina looked a little shaky last week. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to get a win at home, and I think they're going to get the job done. I'm going to move Tampa here.
I think there's too much Cam Newton in this one. I'm rolling with the Panthers right now. The running backs for Tampa Bay haven't really proven anything to me. Carolina in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Carolina too. I mean, Carolina's running game hasn't been that great, but it's just been too much Cam Newton this year. I think he'll continue to do that.
And Diesel has Carolina Panthers in this one. With our next game, we got the Eagles at the Washington Redskins. Drake, who you got in this one?
I don't think this is going to be a very pretty game any way that you look at it. But I think that the Eagles bail out last Washington. I don't know if that running attack will ever get going. For Washington this week, I think that the Eagles take it.
In this one, I got, I'm going to roll with the Eagles. I know I picked against them last week, but I think they'll figure things out. Sam Bradford might have a little better day. I don't know what they're going to do with the run situation. I trust Sproles and Matthews way more than I trust DeMarco Murray. But I got the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, this one is not one to tune into if you have a choice. The Eagles are just going to try to keep on running it. Washington doesn't have a lot of firepower, but I am going to choose the Eagles.
Diesel also chose the Eagles in this game. On the next game, Drake, we got the Raiders at your Chicago Bears. Who you got in this one?
I never thought of being a Bears fan that I would have to take the Raiders over them, but it's looking that way. I think the Raiders are better than what people give them credit for. I think, I think that they've got 3 of the better young skill position players, and I think that the Raiders will be just too much for Jimmy Clausen.
I'm going to go on the record right now and say that the Raiders have a future franchise quarterback in Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is going to lead the way against the pretty weak Bears. Raiders all day in this one.
Yeah, it's Raiders. I mean, it's just Raiders.
Diesel, this one also has the Raiders as well. Our next game, we got the Texans at the Falcons. Who you got in this one?
Too much Julio Jones, Falcons.
I think that Texans pass rush is going to get to him. I think they're going to look to pass quickly. Julio Jones, he's going to get one-on-one coverage out there. And, I mean, doesn't matter who's covering him, really. He's going to get his, so I got Falcons.
Yeah, Falcons are going to get theirs, and Ryan Mallett just can't get it done against them.
Diesel also has the Falcons in this game. Chiefs at Bengals. Who you got, Drake?
I think Bengals keep it rolling. They're 3-0 right now. They're probably a surprise to a lot of people. I really like them though. I really like Andy Dalton. I like the way that he's been playing this year. I think it's just gonna be too much for the Chiefs.
Andy Dalton has some pretty sucky games last year, but he's come on strong this year, and so is that Bengals defense. I'm gonna roll with the Bengals in this one.
I've never been a big Andy Dalton fan, but he's done well, and he'll continue to do well here.
Diesel also has the Bengals in this game. That leads us to our next game, the Cleveland Browns against the San Diego Chargers. Who you got in this one?
I'm gonna have to go with Chargers all day. Took two of their guys at FanDuel. I think that offense is just gonna eat. I think that they're gonna get a big lead early, and they'll just pound away with the rock and finish off the job.
Yeah, I think Melvin Gordon finally has a good game this year. I think he's gonna see the end zone for sure. I don't know how many yards he's gonna get, but I definitely got the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, I got the Chargers too. I mean, while Josh McCown started the games, they haven't looked too hot, so I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
Diesel also has the Chargers picked in this game. I don't think anybody in their right mind would pick the Browns. Now let's get on to our next game with the Packers and the 49ers. Who you got, Drake?
Packers.
I agree, Packers. They are out of Lambeau though, but I mean, Rodgers is going to get his. I got Packers too.
It's gonna be ugly.
It's the Packers.
Diesel has the Packers too. I don't know why you wouldn't take the Packers unless you're just a diehard 49ers fan. Stuck back in your heyday. Our next game, we got the Rams and the Cardinals. Who you got in this one?
I like an upset here. I like the Rams. I think that I like what the Rams are doing. I know that they looked a little shaky the past 2 weeks, but they've also beat the Seahawks. I think that the Cardinals are going to be playing a really, really tough defense, and I think it's just going to be too much for them, like the Rams.
I think that the Cardinals will take this one. I think they'll hit some guys deep with that front seven. I think they'll be looking to get the ball out quickly. I think the Cardinals get the pass game going, and Rams, their offense is suspect at best. I got the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals too. The Rams do have some talent. I do think they can pull them out some games, but I just think the Cardinals are rolling a little bit too hot right now, so I'm going with the Cardinals.
Diesel also has the Vikings in this, it has the Cardinals in this one. Our next game, however, though, is the Vikings at the Broncos. Drake, who you got?
Broncos. Big offensive game for the Broncos. I really like C.J. Anderson to really get the ball moving here. Taking the Broncos all day on this one.
I said earlier in the show, don't be sold on the Vikings yet, and I think this game will prove why. I got Broncos in this one.
Yeah, I got Broncos. Peyton Manning looked like his old self. I like them this game week.
And Diesel also has Denver in this game. Our next game we got is Dallas at New Orleans. Who you got in this one, Drake?
I think this is going to be an interesting Sunday night game.
Yep.
It's tough to say. I think that the Dallas defense is a lot better than what people give them credit for. I think, Brandon Weeden actually isn't as bad as what people give him credit for either. I think Dallas still wins the game. They'll find a way, even in the dome.
I've been dogging on Dallas since they lost Romo. I've been dogging on Terrence Williams, but I still got Dallas in this one. That New Orleans secondary is just flat out depleted. I think when they get in the red zone, the run game or Jason Witten will take over. We've talked about how Brandon Weeden likes Jason Witten. I think Dallas Cowboys will figure a way to squeak one out.
All right, I do think Dallas is a better team, but if Drew Brees is ready to go, I do think they'll win at home.
Diesel actually has Dallas in this one too. So for our last game here, we got the Lions at the Seahawks. Drake, who you got in this one?
Seahawks. Lions have not looked very good all year, and I think that streak continues with the 12th man, and I'm going with the Seahawks.
I said earlier in the show, the Lions are one of the few teams out there who are Owen Wilson. They're actually 0-3 so far. I don't think we'll start 0-4. This is a totally biased opinion, but I'm taking the Lions in this one in an upset. Lions all day.
Yeah, I'm going Seahawks. They looked better this last week. I think they'll continue against this Lions team.
Diesel has Seattle Seahawks in this one. And that's going to wrap it up for our show here this week. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm Fletcher. That's Drake. This is Brandon. Our Twitter handle is @Fletchs Factory, and our email is fletchesfantasy@gmail.com. Be sure to hit us with your questions for next week, and we'll see you then.